Well, do stay tuned. KTN Prime will be starting at the top of the hour at 9 p.m. and we'll have live updates from all Kalau, including details of other stories. Prof. Gitile, I'd like you and it's a what's your take on it briefly?
I actually think there is one to open campaign account. A campaign account is because muscle to do it. The question is, do they have the will?
Play, le nouveau terrain de jeu des parieurs sportifs.
Oh, hi. Would you like of Latter-day Saints? And this is the Book of Mormon. It teaches us more about Jesus Christ.
They are likely even to use an traceable money, the one they have kept in the money. The MBC doesn't have the capacity to monitor them, and nobody has the capacity to do that. But if we really want to stick to the law is that if it's now in force, if it is in force now, corrupted to protect Kenyans from being bribed during elections by limiting the amount of money you can use, also to give people a chance to enjoy their rights.
Let me ask you this. What's your take on the influence of money and rolled out development projects in terms of influencing voting patterns?
Now that one you will have to address region by region. The use of money in the Mount Kenya region will have no impact, because these people understand that they have accepted the fact they deserve development. When you bring money and a project during the campaign, these people understand and you are now bribing them, which is illegal. So they will take your money, but they are unlikely to give you the vote. But now, why I say in the region by region, better North, it was not because of money. Better North has an interesting history. I wanted to tell you that. First of all, that election was clearly stolen. Okay? That is number two.
The court's clear.
Number two, well, the court, and won the election. But during the general election, the president didn't even get 1,000 votes in Mbere. You want the presidential vote. So the clans in some areas in the Mount Kenya region, they have a lot of weight, okay? So you have to look the fellow which clan you come from, then you have to look the history of the candidate themselves. So the local politics now come to play, not in the Kikuyu part of Mount Kenya region. Okay. They don't have those clans we have down there. But the eastern side, we have a lot of clan issues. Weight in very the 5 or 96% to the opposition. Still, if there is a candidate UNDA, okay, they may still elect that candidate. So you can't, there's local dynamics which come to play in by elections, which are not available in the general election to favor the president.
Okay, fair point. As we continue with the conversation, let's listen into some of the sentiments shared by political leaders. Earlier on, our reporters got hold of the two front-runner candidates that some
privilege in the morning to visit several of the polls come out in numbers, and the officers that are there are doing quite a few hitches here. Where some of our agents were asked to provide copies of the ID, which is not a requirement by law, but we had the arrow so that every vote counts. That is what we want. Every vote must count. We must exercise that right that is there in our constitution, what we call universal suffrage. Let everyone have the right to vote. Thank you.
Are you confident of winning?
Well, the numbers are very good from the exit polls. The margins are very wide, and you will see in a few hours. So, to answer your question, in the affirmative, it's a
All right, that was Sammy Douglas Kamau of DCP. Let's hear what Samuel Mushina Nyaga had to say briefly.
Large numbers, and it's really, really encouraging to see how people have turned out to vote and to exercise their democratic right. And I feel like as we have talked to the people of Orkarao, we have had 3 months to campaign, and I feel like we have done all our best, and people have really listened to us because we encourage everyone within the Orkarao constituencies to come out today and to come out in large numbers so that they could elect the member of parliament who will serve them for the next 1 year. So I feel people are really, the turnout is really encouraging.
How does that affect security in this area?
Security, I feel today we have the security is well organized. Kwa sababu ukiangalia utaona maafisa wa polisi, they are everywhere. They are manning our roads and our police stations. So I feel the security is quite well today. Na sijapata incidents yote isipokuwa an incident that happened yesterday that one of my vehicle ambayo ilikuwa nasafirisha my agent ilikuwa pahali panaitwa Mugumo, ilienda ikachomwa na wahuni, but the situation ikakuwa controlled. Other than that, incidents that happened yesterday night where my vehicle was burned, sijapata incidents zingine, but of course this morning I have had some 2 other incidences whereby I've had some individuals wenye wanapeana pesa huku kwa police station, and I'm calling the IEBC to investigate the issue because I have heard from my people kwamba kuna watu walikuwa kura katika police station zetu, but I believe IEBC will take action against those individuals who are trying to bribe our people so that we can have free and fair elections. I encourage whoever is at home, please come out and come and exercise your voting right, kwa sababu kupiga kura ni haki ya kila mmoja wetu. Mimi ningewahimiza, ingawa ninaona ya kwamba wananchi wetu wamejitokeza vizuri, lakini pia tungetaka the turnout to be good. Maybe even if it's possible we have 100% wananchi waweze kuamua ni nani wangetaka kuwe mjumbe wao wa mwaka mmoja ambao umebaki.
One of the front-runner candidates, Samuel Mushina Nyaga of the UDA party, speaking earlier on during the voting process. Vote counting is currently underway. And still, Rigathi Gachagua, the DCP party leader, spoke earlier on, raising a couple of issues. Here's a soundbite of one of the issues he raised. Listen in.
Been told now they are regrouping. They are planning to storm all the police stations. And I'm surprised that Ethicon and IBC have said nothing, even after they are moving in vehicles in broad daylight with rifles and wearing masks, and IBC is quiet because they are part of it.
Okay, Rigathi Gachagua, DCP party leaders, speaking there, and of course highlighting the instances of what he claimed. All things said and done, we have a candidate who felt aggrieved in one way or the other, but equally highlighted that, instances of voter bribery along the lines is quite unfortunate, and it happened earlier on. Equally, the ELOG, which is a body that monitors elections, raised alarm over instances of electoral malpractices, documented voter bribery, purchase of identity cards, and instances of political violence across the constituency. At the end of the day, this is not just a litmus test for the voting patterns in Mount Kenya region, but a litmus test of IEBC's handling of the polls. I mean, the commission is new, but we have individuals who have been within the IEBC and have conducted elections time and time again. Talk to us about the expectations vis-a-vis the reality from the handling of today's poll. What do you make of their capacity to handle the 2027 general election briefly?
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. I think there's a general disappointment in the IEBC and how it has conducted the by-election up until now. Not just this by-election, but we had 4 other by-elections last year. And there was hue and cry as to whether or not the IEBC does have teeth to bite when it comes to violations. My feeling is that the IEBC has been given very extensive powers, both by the Constitution and by the Elections Act, but it has chosen not to exercise the full breadth of its powers. I'll give an example. If you look at the Electoral Code of Conduct, when it comes to censuring wrongful conduct, whether it's misuse of state resources or it's bribery and that's the one that the IEBC unfortunately tends to use the most. But as we have seen, it's the least efficacious. So what IEBC tends to do repeatedly is say, we have warned you, we have warned you. The law presupposes that that is a starting point, but that's not the end point. So there should be a progression of more serious sanctions if the violations continue. So you move from formal warnings to fines. We have seen the IEBC issue fines last year, Kasipul Kabondo. We have seen an attempt to issue fines in these by-elections, Wanjiku Mohia and David Gekaria. Those processes have been stopped by the courts. We are going to wait and see the outcome of those. But I believe, in my view, if the IEBC really wanted to flex its muscles, they really do have the power to. For example, the Electoral Code of Conduct presupposes that political parties will man their candidates, their agent supporters, and their own officials, so that they will enforce the Electoral Code of Conduct themselves. One of the ways the IEBC can get political parties to comply is using the power to disqualify a candidate or to disqualify a party from fielding a candidate. That is a power the IEBC has under the Electoral Code of Conduct. We have not seen the IEBC doing that. So the few people who have been censured, whether you're looking at Gekaria or Wanjiku Mohia, they're not the ones who have committed the most egregious violations, in my view.
And out in all Kalau, number one, because by-elections are usually characterized by low vote parties. Since 2013, 3 terms in Bunge, and he was able to fight off a growing wave of UDA in 2022. Speak to us about the voting patterns and the low.
The late MP was actually a performer. One thing the Central Kenyan does so effectively, the Kikuyu land, the Kikuyu part of, they are very particular in holding their leaders accountable. So they give you 5 years, you demonstrate in development, they will elect you regardless of the wave. They were returning. To beat the UDA wave then was not as moment. True. Now this turnout, the one which probably is more than any other by-election, so they want them to say, whatever you do, you can't take this one. We must prevent you by voting in very large numbers. And I think in the general election, turnout may very well exceed 90% in the Central Kenyan, because MPC needs to, from now on, work on the credibility gap. It's very big. Okay. The credibility gap is really, really big. So, sort of that, lack of that, this idea of protecting the vote, because the vote needs to be protected in 2 places, in the polling station and the constituent tallying center. And Article 86C, the election of the president is supposed to end at the constituency tallying center, where that is the final. That is Article 38 is very clear, when more than one person is nominated to run for office of the president, then election shall be held in each constituency. It does not say that the election is held in Bomas. The Bomas, the chairman of IEBC, has only 2 rows in the national election when it comes to the presidential vote, to check whether the president has gotten 50% plus 1, and to check whether the president has received 25% in 24 count. That's it. Okay. But otherwise, before he does that, every Kenyan already knows the result, because you have been following constituency announcements.
Okay. Gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for your time. If we had more time, I'd be asking where this youthful vote that is so active online was today during the polling, because
they are not on the register. They will come.
The IBC said they're using the register that was there until the late Kiaraho passed on.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's proper defense. Asante sana, Professor Gitile Naituli. Always appreciate your input. Former NCIC Commissioner and political analyst. Luciana Thuo, asante sana for your time and your input as well. We really appreciate it. An electoral dispute resolution specialist. And that's how we finish the deliberations at this particular hour. Remember, at the top of the hour at 9 p.m. or thereabout, we'll be coming to you with the latest in terms of news-making headlines, including live updates from All Kalau constituency, where a team has been camping since early this week in order to bring you the latest in terms of that vote counting and tallying process. I'm Jesse Rogers. Let's take a short break. I'll be back with KTN Prime to keep it right here.
Papa, regarde ce que j'ai retrouvé. Mes bijoux en or que je ne porte plus. Mais je me demande s'ils ont encore de la valeur.
Mais bien sûr. Et plutôt que de les laisser dormir dans un tiroir, tu peux les faire estimer et les vendre facilement. Avec Godot et Fils, tout est rapide et sécurisé. Tu fais estimer tes bijoux gratuitement en ligne et si ça te convient, ils te les rachètent directement.
T'as vu, ils rachètent aussi des pièces et des lingots.
Tu peux voir les prix de rachat en temps réel et même comparer les offres.
Parfait. Je vais tout de suite faire estimer mes bijoux en or. Vendez vos bijoux en toute sécurité chez Godot et Fils.
You are contestants on the greatest game show in the world, the Jurassic Game.
There are things more terrible than us in this game.
All of you are in here for one reason, to win your freedom.
I'm here to finish what I started!
Kila wiki knockout forward.
Enjoy fish goat hind quarter at 799 shillings per kg. Grapes black pap 500 grams at 359 shillings. Dawat daily basmati rice 5 kg at 1,025 shillings. And higher 10 kg washing machine at 69,995 shillings.
Deals kibao kila wiki knockout forward.
Everything can wait. The FIFA World Cup 2026. Get DSTV access for as little as 1,450 Kenya shillings today.
Dial star 811 star 910 hash to get this as your skizzy tune. KTN, ndio home.
Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
Enjoy fresh goat hind quarter at 799 shillings per kg. Grapes black pack 500 grams at 359 shillings. Dawat daily basmati rice 5 kg at 1,025 shillings. And higher 10 kg washing machine at 69,995 shillings.
Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
This is KTN.
A very good evening to you from wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Prime. We're coming to you live from the capital, Nairobi, on a day that Ol Kalou constituency headed to the polls. Polling stations opened as early as 6 a.m., closed by 5 p.m., and we're here to bring you up to speed with the latest developments, even as the vote counting and tallying process is underway in Ol Kalou constituency. We have our reporters lined up who will be giving us live updates on the vote counting process, just to get a semblance of who exactly is leading in that mini poll. And later on, we'll be having a studio conversation, taking a look at the political ramifications of this particular by-election that has been touted as a litmus test, even as we evaluate the performance of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, including other multi-agencies that were involved in this particular election. Was it free, fair, and credible? That conversation will be coming up a little bit later on, and I'll be introducing the panelists I'll be hosting in just a few. But as you can see, live pictures from Ol Kalou constituency, some of the residents from them in a few as our reporters interact with them. Alan Ochanda, Ken Gashui are on the ground, and as you can see, we will be giving you periodical updates on the latest from Ol Kalou constituency. Not just that, there are other developments that played out in the course of the day, so do trust us to inform you about those and much more. Let's start with the top stories tonight. Vote tallying and counting underway in Ol Kalou as residents wait with anxiety to learn of their new MP-elect after a day of voting that witnessed long queues. Chaos witnessed in Ol Kalou as residents clash with police over presence of hooded and masked armed men who allegedly invaded several polling stations. Plus,
Mr. Speaker,
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna removed as Senate Deputy Minority Whip and replaced by Migori Senator Eddie Okech in changes announced by Senate Speaker Amason Kingi. And pressure mounts on Agri Muchelule to resign as this year. Our team is on the ground, and we want to cross over live and join Ken Gashuhi, who is supposed to give us an update on the feeling on the ground and perhaps the update on the numbers as they are being tallied and counted by the IEBC officials. Ken Gashuhi, good evening to you. It's great to have you with us. Been a long day. Thanks for the coverage. Let's start with the mood currently in Ol Kalou. What currently is happening?
Security to ensure that the voting exercise continues at the polling station level. After that, support and the residents are still waiting to see whether the results will be announced tonight. Or the total.
Kamau Waweru is on a higher note, so we are expecting the official announcement from the IEBC that Kamau will be the newest MP in the country as from tomorrow early in the morning. Now as na tunashukuru Mungu sana kwa sababu tumemshikilia huyo kijana wetu, rafiki yetu, tumelelewa naye pamoja, tumemfanyia kazi mingi despite the tiresome day we had. Tumekuwa na challenges kidogo here and there, but tumemshikilia kabisa na tukahakikisha kwamba siku imetimia vizuri, na tunaomba wananchi wa Ol Kalou wagojee the official announcement from IEBC despite that tunaona tu kwa mitandao ya kwamba he is on higher notes. But we say congratulations to him in advance as we wait for the official announcement. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Maybe I can get the views of another person who is ready to talk. Maybe start with you. Maybe what are you expecting from the results? Stand here, please, and tell us what are you expecting from the results. Maybe that will be announced later tonight or maybe tomorrow early in the morning.
Huwa na expect chama yetu ya DCP imeshinda. Kwenye tumeonyesha watu ni hapa sio mbele. Watu wa Ol Kalou wameamua sio mbele. To expect the best. DCP imeongoza. Ndio tunashukuru Mungu kwa hayo.
Asante sana. Nipate maoni ya mtu wa mwisho hapa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anaitwa Josephat.
In the Kenyan politics, we are seeing that although the IEBC is yet to declare the final results, we have seen that some numbers indicate that the DCP candidate is heading for a win. And earlier today, we had also visited various polling stations. We also interacted with the voters, also interacted with the candidates who arrived and cast their ballots. And immediately after that, my colleague Alan Ochanda, who is also camping here in Ol Kalou with me, prepared for us the following report.
Pandemonium and confusion rocked Ol Kalou town. DCP supporters and police officers battling out following claims the police had led suspicious vehicles into polling centers. Hooded men wielding guns presently shooting in the air over the sunroof of cars with hidden number plates. The mysterious man whose identity still remains unknown, even though
hawezi kuwa unatembea na bunduki na tear gas na magari ambayo hazina namba, alafu unatuambia twende nyumbani tungoje kuhesabiwa kura. We cannot trust this government. We cannot trust
those that lasted for more than 2 hours, temporarily paralyzing voting at Ol Kalou Comprehensive School, while the town was rendered impassable as the irate youth barricaded the roads. The development, according to the opposition, is a vindication following their earlier protest letter to the IEBC and the Inspector General of Police over the heavy deployment of police.
Our security are well organized and the police under the police command. Anybody else outside that formation have already been reported to the police commander who is in charge in this area. and therefore we are not in charge of, we don't subscribe to hooded personalities if they are there and unmarked cars that are moving around. Yesterday we gave a very strong warning and a statement was given by IEBC that all unmarked cars be impounded.
Although the Ol Kalou by-election began on a smooth note early today, but the face-off between DCP supporters and security apparatus almost paralyzed it, with hooded men traveling in cars with concealed number plates, injuring journalists and vandalizing their equipment. Alan Ochanda, KTN in Ol Kalou, Nyandarua County.
Well, thanks, Alan Ochanda. And earlier on, we're speaking to Ken Gashuhi, who are both in Ol Kalou constituency and will be having periodical crossovers to Ol Kalou and get updates on the latest. But we've just seen from IEBC that at least 51% of registered voters cast their vote, even as the vote counting process is underway, and the results will be published on the Commission's website. So at least 51%, that's roughly 30,000 voters, eligible voters, made their way to the over 144 polling stations in Ol Kalou. But still on that by-election, and fresh allegations of voter bribery have rocked the Ol Kalou by-election after KTN obtained messages that money was sent to voters on the eve of the poll. The transactions, accompanied by messages allegedly urging recipients to vote for a specific candidate, have now raised serious questions about the role of the company behind the payments. As such, by
KTN is in possession of electoral messages. Ol Kalou residents on the eve of the by-election received money ranging from 500 Kenyans.
This was now 2,209. That means I've received 2,000 from
the support and asked you to come out and vote today. And of course, several of these messages were seen by KTN on location. So who owns Paul Master Limited? A search conducted by KTN at the company registry has established that Paul Master Limited was registered on July 3rd, 2025 and is jointly owned by Moffat Munene and Susan Mwende Muthoni, each of the two directors and shareholders holding 50 shares, giving them equal ownership of the company. What has not been clear is why Paul Master Limited sent money randomly to Kenyans and Ol Kalou residents on the eve of the by-election, quoting Mushina, a UDA contender in the Ol Kalou by-election.
So fact of the matter, in my view, is that yes, there is evidence. There are lots of things that, if properly documented and packaged, would stand the threshold of submission to the courts for a possible nullification of this by-election.
The allegations have renewed questions over whether the principles enshrined in Kenya's constitution are being upheld. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is guided by the Constitution of Kenya, particularly Article 81, which sets out the principles of Kenya's electoral system. These principles state that elections must be free and fair, conducted by secret ballots, free from violence, intimidation, improper influence, or corruption, conducted by an independent body, transparent, administered in an impartial, neutral, efficient, accurate, and accountable manner. Yet, allegations of cash handouts continue to cast doubt on whether voters are making choices freely or
to bribe voters. Listen in.
6 a.m. Thursday. Long queues were witnessed at various polling stations in Ol Kalou. Residents braving the cold, turning up to elect their representative to the national. Nobody was left behind. With this, the outcome of the mini poll is expected to shape the narrative in the vast Mount Kenya region ahead of August 2027 polls. Of the large turnout, the old outnumbered the young, with many elderly women turning up to exercise their democracy.
So that by the end of the day, ama wakati zoezi likifungwa, watakuwa wamejichagulia.
Different polling stations amid concerns over voter bribery.
It's really encouraging to see how people have turned out to vote and to exercise their democratic right. Security is well organized. Kwa sababu ukiangalia utaona maafisa wa polisi, they are everywhere. They are manning our roads and our police stations. So I feel the security is quite well today. Very
Gritty of the Ol Kalou parliamentary by-election.
what he described as systematic. The leader also condemned the attack on journalists who were covering the by-election, saying the assault on the media was an attack on the
ever before that we shall not have a peaceful election, that we shall have anarchy and civil war. If what William Ruto is doing in the Lokalau today is what will happen next year, there will be civil war in this country. We have seen it. You, the media, the national newspaper, the NTV, the journalists were beaten up, and their equipment confiscated, so that they don't record the mayhem that is happening in Lokalau. So Kenyans must know now, they must be prepared, that we are going to have a big problem next year.
The Ol-Kalou by-election has emerged as a major political test in the Mount Kenya region, drawing intense interest from both the government and opposition as the battle for the region's political influence gains momentum ahead of the 2027 general election. Clement Masombo, KTN.
Ahead in this bulletin, young women in their 20s increasingly getting diagnosed with cervical and breast cancer as Kenya grapples with the growing cancer burden.
Tell me what you remember. Troy. All of you are in here for one reason, to win your freedoms.
Welcome back to KTN Prime. Two other stories making headlines. Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has been removed as the Deputy Senate Minority Whip following changes announced in the Senate on Thursday. Speaker Amason Kingi told the House he had received a letter from Senate Minority Leader Stewart Madzayo communicating Sifuna's removal from the leadership position and the appointment of Migori Senator Eddie Okech as the new Deputy Minority Whip. Our reporter Haman Kamariki has that report.
The new office holder with immediate effect is Senator Eddie Gesheru Okech MP.
Despite the changes, Edwin Watenya Sifuna thanked both the minority and majority sides of the House for the support they accorded him during his tenure.
I don't know what else these people can take. I think there's a Bible verse, Honorable Speaker. It is Jesus who said, when somebody takes your coat, give them even the shirt. Give them even the shirt. I want them to come for my shirt. I am prepared, Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity to very humbly thank the leadership and the members of my minority side for the cooperation that they've given me. Even the majority side, for the cooperation that they've shown me in the time that I have been Deputy Whip. I congratulate my young brother.
Questioned both the process and the timing of the changes.
And you remember also that the ODM that is effecting this change had formally written notifying that they wanted to remove themselves from the coalition. So they are no longer members of Azimio coalition. But nevertheless, when it suited them, they called a meeting of Azimio coalition. So we are, but we are concerned that a House of Parliament can be micromanaged by State House.
Join us so that we can take over the House and run the House the way
Elsewhere, a pistol legally registered to a Court of Appeal judge is now at the center of a major criminal investigation after it was recovered from a suspected armed robber. Judge Agli Muchelule now finds himself at the center of the probe after confessing that the firearm in question was registered under his name but whose license had expired and had disappeared without his knowledge. The incident is now raising critical questions about how civilian firearms are stored, monitored and accounted for in Kenya. KTN security reporter Francis Ontomwa now details the growing pressure on the judge to resign and allow investigations to proceed.
This daring night robbery at the Kaiwali restaurant in Westlands on the 4th of July caused panic in the city. Investigators have uncovered that a Beretta pistol was recovered from a suspect whose possession of the weapon now links the gun to one registered in the name of Court of Appeal Judge Agri Muchelule. Vincent Ochieng, the suspected armed robber, was found with the pistol, was gunned down in Joska at a residential house situated along the Nairobi-Kangundo Road. Judge Muchelule now claims he did not know his gun was missing until investigators reached out, something that some legal minds like Nelson Harvey are finding hard to understand.
A licensed firearm holder has several responsibilities. You must secure the firearm in two ways only. It must be on your body or in a safe.
In his own statement, Muchelule has confessed that his license expired on 1st October 2025 and that he forgot to complete the renewal process, essentially confessing that he was holding a firearm illegally.
What ideally should happen, and it's in the books, the officer commanding station within just that jurisdiction is supposed to carry out periodic checks on licensed firearm holders, either by visiting them at their premises to confirm the safety of the firearm, or calling them and asking them to present themselves with the firearm at the police station.
In Kenya, the licensing of civilian firearms is governed by the Firearms Act, Cap 114, and administered by the Firearms Licensing Board, FLB. Before the issuance of a firearm certificate, one must satisfy requirements that include being a person of sound mind, providing a good reason for wanting to own a firearm, proving that they can possess a firearm without endangering public safety, and can keep the firearm securely.
This is misconduct of such an aggravated nature that in a functional constitutional democracy, two things will have happened here. One, Agri Muchelule ought to have resigned. And two, Agri Muchelule ought to have been arrested forthwith.
The licensing board has powers to issue, renew, suspend or even revoke firearm licenses. Periodically, they can assess the suitability and proficiency of firearm holders, and they also maintain a centralized database of civilian firearms. Failure to safely store a firearm is an offense in itself, punishable by imprisonment of up to 1 year or a fine or both.
How a licensed gun ended up in the hands of criminals is a question that investigators will be tasked to uncover. But this now raises serious critical questions on the integrity of the administration of...
Months of meetings between the United States government officials and their Kenyan counterparts regarding officially culminated into the signing.
From the National Treasury, all the disbursements goes to MOH, the disbursements goes to MOH, to the sagas, to the county government. So there's a whole architecture.
Previously, the kind of arrangement that has been, that we had some challenges on our part.
Even so, experts argue that the U.S. government shift that bypasses previous accountability structures like non-governmental organizations is likely to create accountability leakages that will in turn impact on health service delivery due to lack of third-party accountability.
There's an assumption that we stopped all health assistance last year. So when we paused it, we actually unfroze all the health assistance. So we still have ongoing health programs before this new program is launched of about $400 million a year.
And it's important for them to make this transparent and public because it will then help in playing an accountability role to know what has our government committed to, what is the US government supporting, who are the implementing partners.
Previously, central government officials, including ministries of finance, had little to do with planning and operations related to US-supported health work. Kenya, whose Transparency International Corruption Perception Index continues to draw concern, will now see its leaders control at least 207 billion shillings that US President Donald Trump's administration has allocated to support the country's health agenda and advance its transition towards a resilient, self-sustaining healthcare system for the next 5 years. Concerns regarding how the government plans to address corruption and prevent diversion of these resources continue to linger, and now stakeholders in the health sector maintain that leaders must be held personally responsible for any shilling that will be unaccounted for in the new co-financing framework.
The accountability and transparency around this funding will be guaranteed. We are actually carrying out a number of reforms in terms of accounting for donor or development partner funding.
We are yet to see what are the accountability frameworks that will be put into place to be able to hold the players accountable, not only say on the usage of the funds, but from a point of view on what has been committed in terms of the delivery of services, the type of services, and whether actually those services get to the people who are supposed to get it.
US began bilateral health negotiations with at least 16 African countries, engaging directly with countries as opposed to through implementing partners. Kenya is the first African country to sign the historic government-to-government health cooperation framework with the United States. The agreement was officially inked in December 2025. Gloria Milimu, KTN.
Still on health matters, and as the country continues to grapple with the growing cancer burden, young women in their 20s are increasingly getting diagnosed with cervical and breast cancer, with the risk factor being attributed to human papillomavirus, HPV. As Bentura Kwamboka reports, breast, cervix, and esophageal cancer continue to rise in Nyeri, Murang'a, and Uasin Gishu counties. Take a look.
Cancer is no longer an old person's disease. According to statistics from the National Cancer Institute of Kenya, now reveals that women as young as 20 years old are being diagnosed with cancer with the breast and cervix, leading the charts.
Health experts say women continue to lead in cancer cases in the productive windows, while for men the disease mostly sets in later years, between the ages of 40 to 60 years.
We have a very young population in Kenya. A lot of our population is under the age of, is a young population under the age of 40. We also have a lot of risk factors, including HPV virus, we have HIV, we have EBV, all those contributing to cancer of the cervix, Kaposi sarcoma, and lymphomas.
According to the National Cancer Institute of Kenya statistics from 74 public hospital registry from around the country in 2024, breast, cervical, esophageal, prostate and colorectal cancer continue to lead, accounting for 58.5% of all cases reported nationally. With the Nyeri, Murang'a and Uasin Gishu counties leading in the disease burden, Mandera and Turkana counties reported the lowest cases.
Arid and semi-arid areas are the most common counties with very limited number of cancer cases. That does not necessarily mean that there are no cancers there. It just generally means that patients are don't have as much access to care and treatment and also diagnostics as the more urban patients in this country.
The report further reveals cases rise sharply after the age of 40 years and peak between 60 to 79 years in male, while it peaks in between 40 to 59 years for female.
The esophagus and prostate for men, we are seeing it mostly at the age from 60 upwards, and that is basically aligning to what the global statistics are also saying.
As prostate, esophageal and colorectal cancer lead, accounting for 26.3%, 15.5% and 7.8% respectively in male, breast, cervical and esophageal cancer lead at 28.3%, 21.7% and 8.8% in females respectively. With 78.6% of patients being diagnosed at stage 3 and 4, indicating that most patients present late, chemotherapy and radiotherapy are still the most preferred treatment methods used by 40% of the patients. Bentura Komboka, KTN.
Thanks, Ventura. And those are details of other stories making headlines. But remember, sharp focus on the Ol Kalou by-election, where the vote counting and tallying process is underway. Our team has made its way to the Ol Kalou Senior School in Ol Kalou constituency, which is the constituency tallying center. And in just a bit of few, we'll be giving you updates on the progress so far. In terms of who exactly is leading, we should have those pictures on our screens right now of the tallying center. There you go. And in just a bit of few, we'll be linking up with our reporters to find out if there's any progress in terms of finding out who is leading in that particular race. Remember, IEBC said a minimum of 51% voter turnout was registered in Ol Kalou, which is not synonymous with violence seen previously. But we're set to find out what exactly is happening in Ol Kalou and the process of vote counting. I'm sure you've seen on social media there are a couple of results posted there, including the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, who tweeted congratulating the final results, and they still haven't. So we'll just get an update from Ol Kalou. But in the same length and breadth, we'll be having a conversation with sharp minds who are joining me in studio as we get to analyze the political after effects of this particular by-election, perhaps how IEBC has conducted itself, their reaction to the heavy contingent of police officers, over 1,000 officers in Ol Kalou, and whether it was a security move or it's meant to perhaps scare away voters. All that and more, I'll be conversing with the leaders joining me in studio, the leaders in their own rights, joined by Professor Peter Kagwanja, the CEO of Africa Policy Institute. We'll equally be having a conversation with the Member of Parliament for Funyula constituency, Wilberforce Oundo, and last but not least, Aden Kanan, who's the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency. The gentlemen will be giving us their take in just but a few. Let's take a short break right now, but do keep it right here for periodic updates on what's transpiring in Ol Kalou, even as the vote counting and tallying process is underway. We'll take that short break. We'll be back in a few.
Kila wiki knock out. Enjoy fresh goat hind quarter at 799 shillings per kg. Grapes black pepper 500 grams at 359 shillings. Dawat daily basmati rice 5 kg at 1,025 shillings. Entire 10 kg washing machine at 69,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki knock out 4.
KTN Business, brought to you by Kenya Pipeline Company PLC.
At the heart of Kenya's energy network is a company moving a nation forward. We honor our mandate to power Kenya's growth and fuel the region's future.
right, welcome back. You're watching symbolic in terms of the political outlook for the larger Mount Kenya region, but equally it is a do-or-die affair for the two candidates who are front runners, and not just them. William Ruto, the party leader and president, party leader of UDA and president, as well as DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, who are facing off indirectly in that particular by-election. Live pictures from Ol Kalou, as you can see right there. We'll be crossing over to our reporter just to get a semblance of the vote counting process, who exactly is leading in that mini poll, where over roughly 141 polling stations were opened by IEBC. Over 70,000 registered voters were expected to head to the polling stations, but according to the IEBC, roughly 51% of voter turnout was registered in Ol Kalou constituency. So those are live pictures from the constituency tallying center, and we'll be crossing over in just but a few. But allow me to engage my guests who are joining me in studio on a couple of issues that are rising from this particular by-election, including the political outlook thereafter. I'm joined in studio by Aden Kanan, the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency. Karibu sana, thanks for making time.
Good evening, viewers.
Asante. Equally joined by Wilberforce Oundo, who's a Member of Parliament for Funyula constituency. Wilberforce, karibu sana.
Good evening, viewers. It's good to be here today on a day like this.
Asante sana. Equally, Professor Peter Kagwanja had time for us. He is the CEO of the Africa Policy Institute and a regular panelist on either Spice or KTN. So karibu sana.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
I know it's a heavy day politically, and let's start with you, Prof, because at the end of the day, people are touting this particular by-election as a litmus test, not just for IEBC, but for the predominant political players in Mount Kenya. I'm talking about UDA and the DCP party. From where you sit, is that true? Could we truly tell how 2027 will play out, borrowing from the voting patterns in Ol Kalou? Because when we were holding the Mbeere North election, by-election, people said this is the litmus test. So this time around, we're hearing that this might be the true state of affairs of how the people of Mount Kenya might be voting come 2027. What's your take on that?
You are right. This was a very high-stake kind of a game. It has emerged to be a two-horse race, despite that there were 9 candidates, but in reality it's a two-horse race. The reason being that there has been this polarization between the forces behind the voting, the parties. For UDA, it is William Ruto who was physically there in terms of the imagination. DCP, it's Rigathi Gachagua. You can talk about the continuation of the pre-impeachment, impeachment, and after impeachment rivalry. That kind of showdown. And both had their game plan, and the game plan was pegged to 2027. So both were using Ol Kalou as a dipstick to test what is going to happen in 2027. For William Ruto, his ambitions were fairly mundane. You want to have 20% of that vote, so that you know if you generalize that across Mount Kenya region, you get a respectable vote in 2027. For Rigathi Gachagua, it must be a total wipeout, 80% and above. So that is the way the game plan was. I was shocked to hear some people say UDA might win. I believe UDA's versus DCP was a battle of eggs against stones. Either way, if the stone fall on the egg will break. If the egg hit the stone to break. So the victory for DCP was because that is the one that is going to tell the story of 2027. Mbeere North, despite all the exaggeration, was never expected to be a litmus test. It's the smallest constituency in the region, and with heavy pounding financially, you can win it. And of course, the people around William Ruto understood the clan dynamics in Mbeere, and therefore they exploited them to the maximum.
and there's no way that it would. But the victory was also very narrow, you could tell. So that does not tell much about 2027. So in a word, to me, Karao is unfolding just the way it was planned. But it is a very, very tight, it's a very high stakes game. And I think the main loser is Jubilee, because it has been wiped out completely. So that says it's a two-horse race.
Okay. Ondo, what's your analysis of this by-election? High stakes, and what does this by-election mean for Ruto and Gachagwa's political camps from where you sit?
First of all, by-elections are a bit unique in the sense that there's only probably one or a few, and the key players in that by-election can focus in that particular area, 100%. We saw it, if you remember some years back, the Kipipiri by-election. It's turning out to be literally the same. But this result sends 2 or 3 lessons to be learned. First of all, political support could easily be built on quicksand. Prior to the rundown to 2022 elections, Ruto was the darling of the Mount Kenya people. They gave him all the good names, they welcomed him, they literally made him part and parcel of them. The turnaround between him and the people of Mount Kenya probably is a matter that academicians need to study and find out. Politics is contagious. People from other regions will also start asking questions and follow suit. That you are rejected, you are stronghold. What is it you need for us in store? Where have they rejected you? Probably you have some characteristics that are repulsive to the people. And that's why the people who came with you, who sang your song, have rejected you. But I must give credit to the people of Olkalau. You have made Kenya proud. We believe we can reset this country. We believe there's redemption coming. We were in us as Linda Mwananchi, we were in Nyandarua on Sunday, even though we didn't end well. But our interaction with the people clearly showed to us that UDA had zero chances of ever winning. In fact, even the 5,000 or 6,000 votes they are going to get is scatters of that massive bribery and then the violence that was unleashed since morning today. You have seen videos circulating where, unlike many times, you stand on the rooftop with the microphone, top of the car with the microphone, they were standing on top of the car with the rifles. Serious warning. For some years, and Ruto, and tear gas canisters, do yourself justice, do to the people of Kenya justice, and be truthful to your calling as provided for the Constitution, and if you are a true Christian, arrest those people and bundle them to the courts of law so they can answer for such a heinous act. But indeed, we are happy.
Well, IBC hasn't declared the winner yet, but we'll be crossing over to our reporters to get a feel of who exactly is leading. Adan Kenan, let's speak to the sights and sounds from all Kalau, because Ondo has just hinted at the unfortunate turn of events where perhaps the heavy-handedness of plainclothes police officers was witnessed in glaring cameras. Some journalists from sister TV stations were actually targeted and their equipment confiscated. We were given assurance by multi-agency team IEBC, the Inspector General Douglas Kanja, that over 1,000 police officers have been deployed to all Kalau. But at the end of the day, we've still seen pocketed instances of chaos. What's your analysis of IEBC's, of the police's handling of this particular by-election?
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the people of Kalau for the peaceful manner in which they participated in this critical and highly competitive by-election. I also want to congratulate the IEBC. They have been bashed, they have been criticized, but at the end of the day, being a neutral arbiter to politicians is a very difficult job. Very difficult job. I really empathize with them, and I think generally they have done a good job. In politics, we say the end justifies the means. I think they have conducted the elections in a very transparent, very fair manner. They have been criticized, which is allowed in democracy. So I want to congratulate them wherever they are. The commissioner led by the chairman, I think they have done a commendable job. We expect more as part of the countdown actually to the general election. I also want to congratulate, under very difficult circumstances, our security agencies, the police officers. Those are sons and daughters of the people of Kenya. And I think they are tasked to maintain law and order. And this was a highly polarized by-election. So under very difficult circumstances, I think they did a commendable job. What I want to urge them is those individuals who are seen to be carrying or wielding guns in civilian clothes must be arrested and subjected to the rule of law. That's what our constitution. But when it comes to the I want to say also congratulations to the people, in particular the people of Kalau and the people of Kenya. But there are certain things that we must, and I also want to congratulate the winner. I know it's not officially declared, but I think it's apparent right now that Samuel Muchila Nyaga is the presumptive winner. Let me say this. And I want to congratulate him and welcome him to the August House. And I'm sure you'll have a very critical role to play in the product. And whether you remember, Kipipiri and Olkalao have a very rich history. You know what happened in 1996? Then by election? It was almost a repeat. So I'm not surprised. But one thing that I think my friend has alluded to, which I must say, as a person, a supporter of the two-term movement, President Ruto two-term re-election movement, is we still have 13 months to the general election. And even one day is such a long time in politics. I want to congratulate the government because they have decentralized development, even to regions that are perceived to be hostile to the government activities. And I think this is what our mature democracy is expected actually to do. Development is all over. I'm sure even where my friend comes from, in Busia, I am told they are now getting the highest level of development they've ever seen since independence. And yet, the MB, my good friend here, is a very good friend, is a critic, a non-critic actually of the government. So development should not be politicized. And therefore, what I want to say is, this is not a litmus test actually for 2027. Politics is very dynamic. One day in politics is such a long time, but it can also give you a feel of what people in particular community, you know, there has been a lot of hype about certain regions, certain activities, there's been a lot of propaganda, there's been a lot of introduction of populist and other necessary activities. And you see, what comes to my mind is the making of the nation state of Kenya. Basically, we are a collection of tribes, regions, loaded with a bit of personality cult. That's what we are seeing. And personality clashes, you can see when we look at the activities between the SPL friends right now and what they are doing. So all these things is a continuation, it's something that's going to guide us to what we expect in 2027. But I must say this without fear, that this is going to be a wake-up call to the president and his handlers. It's an opportunity for them to go back to the drawing board and recalibrate the activities of the government and the party and tailor-made them both for the development of the Republic of Kenya and for winning 2027. And I think that's the bit. And I'm sure we'll be saying, look, this is not going to be. As a person who supports the re-election of the president, I think there are certain drastic steps that the government must take so that these issues are aligned with both for the national development need of the people of Kenya, but more so for the re-election of President William Ruto.
Okay, it might not be business as usual for the ruling party if indeed they lose this particular election. We need to pay the bills. We'll be coming back with the deliberations right here in studio, including other updates in terms of news making headlines as we wait for an update from all Kalau in terms of the front runners and how they're performing as the vote counting and tallying process is ongoing. Let's take that short break. We'll be back in a few.
KTN Business, brought to you by Kenya Pipeline Company PLC.
At the heart of Kenya's energy network is a company moving a nation forward. We honor our mandate to power Kenya's growth and fuel the region's future.
Kila wiki enjoy fresh goat hind quarter at 799 shillings per kg. Grapes black pepper 500 grams at 359 shillings. Dawati daily basmati rice 5 kg at 1,025 shillings. Entire 10 kg washing machine at 69,995 shillings.
Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
Morning routines, daily hustle. There's always time for the game. Some go by instinct. Others run the numbers. Some live for the thrill. Some play chill. No matter who you are or how you play, only emotions count. This is your moment, your move, your success formula. Bets for everyone. Reveal yourself. 1xBet.
Get ready for the ultimate thrill of football action.
Martinelli, the deflection all the way through.
The most exciting sport show and predictions that will keep you on the edge of the seat.
Liverpool against Manchester City is going to be a draw.
Join us as we bring you expert analysis, exclusive interviews, and the hottest predictions for the upcoming matches.
Now focus on which game Kaka has a biggest against.
From the tactical masterclasses to the jaw-dropping goals, we've got it all covered. Don't miss out on the excitement where every kick, every goal, and every prediction matters. The Football Sleep, every Friday from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m.
No matter who you are or how you play, only emotions count. This is your moment, your move, your success formula. Bets for everyone. Reveal yourself. 1xBet.
Forming relatives, colleagues, and even the Teacher Service Commission, only for the deceased, a community stand, and authorities searching for the true identity of the deceased. Listen in.
Shock, grief, and relief have unfolded in equal measure for the family of Christopher Lutoboloti in Shakoni village, Bototo Westward, Nafaholo constituency. After days of searching for Dixon Muganda, a teacher at Butere, when an unidentified body was recovered from the nearby Sasala River. Convinced it was their missing son, they formally identified the body at the Kakamega County Referral Hospital mortuary and commenced burial plans.
Na vile nilikuwa na lot of anxiety kwa maana sijaona mtoto sasa period na hayuko kwa shule. Roho ikanitu nikasema sasa lazima kapeleka moja nikarejesha hiyo mwili kwa moja kwa jina la Dixon.
And the villagers around wanasema ni yeye. I was traumatized, I was confused.
The heartbreaking news spread rapidly. At Butere Girls High School, teachers, students and parents were informed that Muganda had died. The Teacher Service Commission also received a report of his presumed death. At home, Muganda's wife, Agnes Alucheri, says she had spent days calling his phone in vain. She even posted a heartbreaking tribute on social media, bidding her husband farewell.
Nimefika shuleni kwenye wanafunza nimeambiwa hayuko.
Then came the phone call that changed everything. On Tuesday night, Muganda called his wife after learning that reports of his death had gone viral.
Nikashika, halo, ninasikia sauti ya mume wangu. I was shaking. Nilikuwa kwa jiko nipikia wageni wangu ambao walikuwa wamefika. Unisaidie nisikae pale peke yangu.
By Wednesday morning, he was back home, alive, in good health, leaving his family and mourners who had arrived shocked.
Somebody already posted that letter. Ikabidi nipige simu kwa mbibi nimwambie umeona watu wamekimpost nimekufa. Sema hata yeye alikuwa mapost. Watu wakakuja matanga kawaida, watu wanakuja matanga wenye wanakuja kunifariji kulala nini, tulikuwa tumejazana hapa sasa.
The land of traditional cleansing.
Kenyan health experts are urging the public to remain calm, saying there's no need for panic. Instead, they say accurate health communication, community engagement, and protecting vulnerable groups such as children are critical.
Not just hear, listen, internalize, understand. Okay? So, and that is part of effective communication. So as much as we have this message that we want to pass to the public, we also need to hear the challenges, the grievances, the questions that the public do have.
They also
burial takes place the traditional way, the way we mourn and touch the body and so on.
Evolves, the message from experts remain clear, stay informed, follow guidelines from health authorities.
We have a strategy in place, and so far the strategy is working.
Unisomolo, KTN.
Away from health matters, let's go back to the All-Kalau race, and we now want to get an update from our reporter on the ground who are meant to understand is at the constituency tallying center. Ken Gashuhi, if you can hear me loud and clear, give us a breakdown of the numbers, because there's so much speculation about who exactly is leading, even after senior government officials have already come out to congratulate the DCP candidate. So speak facts. What exactly is happening? Okay, Gashuhi, Gashuhi, can you hear me right now?
At the moment, we have celebrations. Well, at the moment we have celebrations going on outside the All-Kalau Tallying Center, which is the All-Kalau Secondary School, which is the constituency tallying center. This is where both our election materials are being by a contingent of police officers just concluded safely. At the moment, we have thousands of residents who have turned up behind us here and just outside the tallying center, just to ensure that they are following up with whatever is happening outside here, or whatever shall be transpiring inside the tallying center. And as you can see that the residents or the police are having a very difficult time just trying to convince or to just control the residents who just want to get access to the tallying center. But according to the IEBC regulations, is that they should not get beyond 400 meters radius of the tallying center, just to ensure that the exercise is concluded smoothly. So from the various polling stations where these votes or election materials have already been submitted, the residents or the voters have come accompanying the agents and accompanying the IEBC officials just to escort the election materials. And as of now, we can see that the celebratory mood is especially on the side of the DCP party after the preliminary findings or preliminary results that are being given by the various polling stations, but the final results have not been given yet by the IEBC, indicate that the DCP party candidate Sami Douglas Kamau could be the one who will carry the day at the end of this entire exercise. And as you can see here, we still have the police trying to stop some of the residents or some of the voters from accessing that the tallying center. But this is becoming a very difficult exercise, because this is a major road that leads to other areas, and the police have to sieve out supporters and the normal travelers just to ensure that normal flow of traffic is maintained. But as we can see that they have just tried their best, and the residents are not rowdy, they are just in their celebratory mood. And we are expecting that maybe later in the night, maybe by 10 or even at around midnight, they may be able or maybe in a position to give us the final results, because the majority of the polling stations have brought back their election materials but are still queuing outside the tallying center, awaiting to be allowed in and submit their materials. Back to you, Jesse.
Okay, Gashuhi, thanks for that update. We were hoping for a breakdown of the numbers, but once you get access to the tallying center, we'll be able to inform our viewers on who exactly is leading at the current moment. But as you can see, a celebratory mood in Ol Kalou town, as some supporters are out in the streets, perhaps anticipating the announcement right there. We'll be having periodical updates from our reporter Ken Gashuhi, just to keep you updated on the state of affairs in Ol Kalou ahead of the final announcement by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on the Member of Parliament elect for Ol Kalou constituency. As we continue with the discussions, it's proper to show you the front page of tomorrow's edition of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, and that's the headline you'll be waking up to tomorrow. Whitewashed. Needs no breakdown. It's all to do with that Ol Kalou by-election. Landslide victory for Sammy Douglas Kamau, who, as per the time the paper was going to the press, 120 out of 144 polling stations had submitted their results. Sammy Douglas Kamau of DCP leading by up to 29,000 votes as the candidate for UDA, Samuel Mushina Nyaga, had actually gotten around 4,476 votes plus. Remember, that's 120 out of 144 polling stations. Even as the IBC said, there was roughly 51% voter turnout in that constituency. So out of the over 70,000 voters who were registered in Ol Kalou, up to 29,000 votes have been casted in favor of the DCP candidate. Make sure you grab yourself a copy of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, so you're adequately informed about the intricacies that played out in that political race in Ol Kalou, which has been touted as a high-stakes contest, not just between the candidates, but between President William Ruto and his UDA party and the DCP party leader, Rigathi Gachagua. Well, make sure you grab yourself a copy. Gentlemen, let's continue with the deliberations right here in studio. And just for the benefit of our viewers who are just joining us, I'm joined in studio by three gentlemen: Professor Peter Kagwanja, the CEO of Africa Policy Institute; Aden Canaan, who's a Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency; and Wilberforce Oundo, the Member of Parliament for Funyula constituency.
Correction and apologies. Actually, there's a bit of a mix-up of names. From the statistics given, the winner is the DCP candidate, Sammy Kamau Wowero. And I want to once again congratulate him. I also want to say I empathize with my party, Jubilee, and the candidates. And I think this is what we have been saying over the years. The leadership that has been entrusted with once giant former ruling party, Jubilee, have taken it to the lowest level where it is. And that's what we have been saying. For those of us who have disagreed with the leadership and the trustees, that the route that they have chosen is the route that has contributed to the political death of that once giant former ruling party. And therefore, for those who have made there, some of us have moved. We still have a space for you. Please come and join us and leave that shell to those who have invested in the destruction of that once giant political party. And I empathize with the candidate. We ought to have been there, because really we could see it, we could feel it, it's not the end of the world. But it also clearly demonstrates that mismanagement of a political party can lead to the end of that political movement.
And the dwindling of their fortunes.
Yes.
And I'd like your input on this, Prof, because at the end of the day, the late Kiaraho had been voted in using a Jubilee Party ticket for 3 consecutive terms. He had actually fought off a wave of UDA in the Mount Kenya region in 2022. So perhaps it speaks to his deliverables as a Member of Parliament or the voting patterns of all Kalau constituency. So earlier on, Member of Parliament for Eldas hinted at what happened in Kipipiri roughly 31 years ago, which was a race between KANU's Joe Maina and DP's Paul Mwangi. Do you draw similarities between that earlier race and this specific one?
First and foremost, I think Jubilee has been on a downward spiral for a long time, because I don't think the leadership give serious attention to party building, because the survival of a party depends on the leadership that it has put upon itself and the principles that are governing it. I personally wanted to run on Jubilee in 2022 and put my resources and everything at stake. And eventually, the president, the former president, had to apologize. They agreed that they did not carry nomination. So we lost money and we lost resources on that account. And there is a lot of bitterness about those things. But that said, Jubilee tried this luck. I think if they read the signs of the time, I am the deputy party leader of People's Liberation Party. My party leader is Martha Karua. And we looked at it and said, this is not a fight we want to get into. We need to go there, look at the one who has a comparative advantage. And it was very clear. With the people like Medhu there and the team there. Stones. William Ruto also knew that it would be minced meat, which is what you have seen. So it was unwise for Jubilee to decide to have a candidate there. Not because the democracy does not require them to do that, but sometimes you follow wisdom, and wisdom is about knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but you don't mix it in a fruit salad. There must be a difference between knowledge and wisdom.